This episode of the Better Every Shift podcast is sponsored by The Fire Store. Learn more about getting the gear you need at prices you can afford by visiting thefirestore.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Better Every Shift podcast. My name is Aaron Zamzow. I am a fire officer up in Wisconsin. And the reason why, if you're looking on this on video, everyone else is smiling is because they're in San Diego. And we have a really cool kind of a podcast and episode today because we are getting the fire service from every single angle. We're getting it from the very top, Chief Robert Logan from San Diego Fire is here. We have Dave Picone. He's a battalion chief, health and wellness, kind of more, a little bit more frontline. And then we have the commander, who is actually a customer of the San Diego Fire Department because she lives there. So let me welcome, first off, the editor of Fire Rescue One, Janelle Fasquette. How you doing today, Janelle?
I'm doing great. I'm so thrilled to have my local crew here, and just really excited to talk to them today.
Right. So this Chief, let's go to you first. Chief Logan, you're the chief of the San Diego Fire Rescue Department. You've been with the department since 2000. You've actually, it seems like you've had your hands in so many different things there: health and safety, community outreach, employee services. You've created some really cool programming about recruitment. You've been on the Metro Arson Strike Team, hazmat. And you've really climbed the ranks. And I mean, did you ever think, hey, someday, I believe like you and Chief Picone were on Engine 11 together at some point. And did you ever think, man, someday I'm going to be up in that office?
I did not. And if you would have asked me back then, would I be a fire chief? I would have told you absolutely not. I want nothing to do with it. But here I am, and I'm loving it.
Chief Picone, you guys work together. Did you ever see that in him?
You know what? I don't think either one of us. We were just having fun as engineers, trying to play basketball. I wasn't really that good at it, but no, I don't think either one of us were looking at that. I think you love the job and love what you're doing, but then you eventually just realize the timing's right and the positioning's right, and you put your hat in the ring, so to speak. But no, we've been friends for a long time. He's what you see is what you get. Very genuine, and so it's been just great friendship.
I believe you said you got a couple months left. Yep. Out of a long and illustrious career. You're the battalion chief health and safety officer. We'll get into some of the programs that you've been a part of. As you kind of look back at your career, you had mentioned you never thought you'd be here, but as you do look back at it, positives, negatives, regrets, advice.
Yeah, less than, I think it's 4 weeks, 3 days, and like 5 hours or something like that.
Nobody's counting, but yes.
Counting, yeah, no, I'm very pleased, and I think I'm going out at a good time. I'm ready. As I look back, I think that when you're doing something for the right thing, right reason all the time, and you hold to your morals and ethics, and don't get involved in some of the a lot of the gossip. There'll be so much gossip at the table that I would just completely try to stay out of it. People will ask me questions, and it's like, you don't know about this? No, I don't, and it's not for us to talk about, right? So I think that's a lot of the big things. But along the way, see a problem, fix it, right? And along the way, I was always concerned with the divorce rates and the things that were kind of going on. And I think when this position was created, it just really stood out to me. So I think it's those opportunities that you kind of take along the way as maybe a recommendation. If you're looking back and asking those things, I don't think there's any regrets I have. It's been a great career. It's been great for my family. I wish, and my wife and I speak about it to new recruits, that, man, I wish these programs were in place when we were a younger couple, because we would have saved a lot of arguments back then. But so I'm glad we're in the place now where things are moving forward and they're doing better. But no, thank you. It's been a good ride, and it's going to be good to see how much further they take it after I leave.
Well, we're going to try to squeeze out as much knowledge as we can over the next 15, 20, 40, 45 minutes here between both of you. Because, San Diego Fire Rescue, you guys are doing some unbelievable things there. But of course, California, whenever you mention that, top of everybody's mind is the wildfires, the wildland fires and the wildland urban interface. And have you sent teams there? And then, I think we also want to talk on behalf of Janelle too. Are you guys preparing, or how are you preparing for that type of situation here in San Diego? And Chief Logan, we'll start with you.
Yeah, we did send help up to the LA area to help out with that devastating event that they had. As a national event, I'm sure most people, if not everyone, has heard about it. But it was an interesting time because that was a severe weather event that they had. And we've experienced our weather events here in San Diego. We had the Cedar Fire and the Witch Fire. One was in 2003 and one was in 2007. And I fought in both those fires. And I can tell you firsthand, when you have those type of winds and you can't get your aircraft in the air, that's a game changer. Mm-hmm. And I think we all saw the results of that. And unless you can control the weather, Mother Nature is going to win most of the time. When they had their event was so massive that they had so many resources, and we also sent some resources to help them. We were also having our weather events here. So I had to make some tough decisions to hold enough resources here, because as you know, or maybe if you've never been to San Diego, from the west is the ocean. So there's no help coming from the west. If south is Tijuana, and Tijuana sent a bunch of people to LA to help, and they don't usually do that. So there would have been no help coming from the south. And then when you go from the east is Calexico, Arizona, and all those places, and they were also in Los Angeles. So we were on an island for a little bit, and just being strategic as a fire chief and ensuring that I can keep my own city safe took a toll. But we pulled it off, and we came together with our partners here in San Diego. We devised a plan, and we pre-positioned units, and we were ready. And we did have a handful of fires pop up, and we hit them very hard, quick, and aggressive. And we didn't have any major incidents.
I think that's an interesting kind of segue too, to talk to Chief Picone about this, because what people see, they see LA and they forget about the rest of the state. They forget sometimes about, right? Like, San Diego is still, you guys are still battling your fires. The rest of the country, there were some in New Jersey, actually some wildfires in New Jersey. And so you're doing, trying to do more with less. And Chief Picone, this actually has a huge effect on our health and wellness then also, right? And then also you have, so you have these firefighters that are going through all this devastation, their own homes in some cases. And then you go south in San Diego, you have firefighters that are battling it, going, where is everybody? Where's all the help? What does that do to, and I think this is also great to talk to our customers about, to get them to understand, right? Like, hey, there is a mental side of this. There's the physical fire, and then there's the mental side. And Chief Picone, why don't you touch a little bit about what you guys do and how you're handling that side?
Yeah, it's a big issue, and really one of the reasons why the health and safety officer position was created in the first place years ago. And we're very fortunate and unique to have a dedicated position. Many people are wearing, two hats. They're training / safety, or they're a captain kind of doing duties. But for the LA fires specific, we sent some peer supporters up there. They actually established a peer support section to their incident management team. So the peer supporters were assigned to that. But not only that, we had our chaplaincy, and we have crisis response canines attached to our chaplaincy. So chaplain went up there with the canine, and essentially they visited with not only the crews at the scene and in base camp, but the firefighters that were up there, fighting the fire, but also with the families and the devastation as they're walking, through the towns, they're able to support the neighborhood. And so they kind of play a dual role. And the other piece of that would be, the families. And I think people sometimes, they see us out there and we tend to be we're the rescuers, right? So we're not the ones that need help. So we're the last ones to ask for help. And a lot of that has led to, one of the top killers of first responders across the nation is suicide. So you have suicide, cancer, and heart before you'll ever fall through a roof or die in a fire. So, I mean, it's very important to not only remember about that piece of it, the mental side of it, the physical side, they all kind of work together. But, what happens at home in the family life and keeping families together and keeping the stressors of the job away from there. So we kind of do take a holistic approach to the whole thing.
Chief, one of the things that we've talked about on previous podcasts is like the dynamic between like home brain and work brain. And with an event like this, you can't differentiate the two. They're happening simultaneously. You're in work mode, you're in home mode, trying to protect your families. Is that one of the biggest things that you saw personally or heard back from the teams that went up there as being one of the hardest parts about fighting these fires up in LA?
Yeah, and with that you can't differentiate the two because they're going to affect each other for sure. And yet, as a battalion chief or somebody that's in command, your job is to keep everybody focused on the job at hand. We want to make sure you're focused here. And inevitably, you also know that, hey, they are worried about what's going on at home. When they get on a deployment, they're not just there for, their 8 hours and then they clock out. You're there for, weeks at a time, knowing that your family, your spouse, your significant other, they're at home also seeing the danger you're in, and they're worried and you can't call them. There's a lot of dynamics kind of going on. So really just giving the support and outreach to have the families have the ability to call, and have a place that they can reach out to, but then to know that I think it gives them comfort to know that we're taking care of them from the health and safety side. So they know there's a lot of, and the focus on the operational ground from the top down, from Chief Logan all the way down. I mean, it's safety is the number one issue. We want to make sure that, the firefighters are safe, but that the citizens are protected, protecting life and property, et cetera. But all those things are a very difficult dynamic. And then when they come home, it's that reintegration, from the military standpoint, they're coming back from deployment, but I used to come back from strike teams and life continues while you're gone, right? But you come home and you're like, what are you guys doing? What happened to what we were doing 3 weeks ago? And so there's a training component to that, and I think we've just recognized that and done a good job at really trying to bring those two together.
Is that part of the program and the wellness programs that you're working on, is kind of like how to decompress and reintegrate? Is that a big focus there?
Yeah, that's one of the many, and we do it at the academy level. We call it Family Wellness Day, and we bring the families in with the new recruits and really give them a good baseline of, if you see this in your loved one, this is what the resource is for you. These resources are all also available for you as families. We have an event coming up next week called 2 and 2 Out, and it's basically a couples event. And basically we get in with the clinicians, and Zam, I see you kind of smiling on that. That's the whole play on 2 and 2 Out, and we go in together, we come out together, right? Yep. So the whole effort there was that, we have the couples come in, the clinician, because we have a counseling services that we contract with of culturally competent clinicians for us, our members, the retired and family. And so you can go to see those clinicians anytime. So we have those, we have the 2 and 2 Out. We have other events, but all of it is focused on exactly what you said, Joe, just trying to put everything together. And we've had many events where specifically we talk about the reintegration. We actually called it the merge. merging back in on the freeway kind of thing. But it is definitely a hot topic. And these events we do, by the way, it isn't just for San Diego Fire Rescue. We put the notice out, regionally, and everybody's invited to these things. We have a monthly Zoom just for spouses with our spousal peer support team. So we have a lot of little different niches to try to help do that.
I think it's very clever that you use the term the merge when we're talking about Southern California, because we know a lot about freeways here.
That 2 in, 2 out. I love the puns. It sparks a lot of conversation, especially on. See, I did another one right there, by the way. It's really good dad joke day, right? So, but Chief Logan, I want to talk and kind of switch it a little bit, because I read a CNN article. It did have a lot of pictures. Yes, Janelle, and for our listeners who know, I don't like to read a lot, but pictures are good. I'm kind of a truck guy at heart, Chief. So, it noted that and stated that despite being located in one of the most fire-prone areas in the country, LAFD has less than one firefighter for every 1,000 residents. So that compares to cities such as Chicago, Houston, Dallas, where staffing is actually closer to 2 firefighters for the same number of residents. And then of the largest cities, it says only San Diego has fewer firefighters per capita. And this is just highlighting one of the biggest issues within the fire service, which is recruitment, retention, and staffing. And I know that you've been a part of some really clever, creative ways to promote the fire service, to recruit. Can you talk a little bit about those kind of programs and how you guys are handling, the fact that you do need more people?
Right. I think the desire to go into the fire service has changed. And because it has changed, we have to attract a younger group. I've been a part of several different recruiting processes. I was a part of a team that would go out and speak in schools and try to get people interested in the fire service. And one thing I realized was, as we would go speak, for a lot of people, this is the first time they would ever heard this information about the fire service, which seems absolutely amazing. It's like, you never heard anything about the fire service? You just see a fire engine and then you just go on with life. Never inquire.
We know that because they don't pull over for us, so they have their own lives, right? Like,
they don't see us. Yeah.
Or they pull to the wrong side or stop in the middle of traffic.
Yes.
But so I came up with the idea, along with others, because you can't do anything by yourself of this magnitude. And we started a program at the high school level. We figured that the elementary school level and junior high school level was sort of too complicated to get it started. So we started a fire program at a high school called Lincoln High School. And in that program, it was basically a mini fire academy. But because it's part of the high school system, there has to be some education requirements met. So it had to have so much English, math, writing assignments. We had to meet all those standards. We couldn't just have them pulling hose. They had to actually earn high school credits. So it was very challenging working with the school district and the fire service to come up with a program that fit the educational requirement, but also got them that fire experience that we were looking to get them. And it's been a big success. We started with one high school and it's branched off. I believe we have 4 or 5 high schools in the county now that branched off just because of the experience from the program that we started. And then after that, I started an EMT program. So I used to be in charge of recruitment division of the San Diego Fire Department. And we would go out and talk to people, and people have these barriers that were holding them back. So we would run into people, I would love to be a firefighter, but I have kids. There's no way. Or I would love to be a firefighter, but I work during the day, so I can't go get my EMT. So what I did was I collected all those barriers that people were saying they're having. And I partnered with CalJack to put on an EMT class that eliminated all those barriers. And that was my goal. It took me 2 years to create this program. But in the program that I created, we eliminated every single barrier that I came in contact with. So, for example, we made sure the class was at night, 2 nights a week and one day on the weekend. So if you had a job during the day, you can go to school at night. We paid for daycare. So if you had kids, we paid for daycare. If you have financial issues, we gave you a fuel stipend. We pay for all your uniforms. We pay for all your books. We literally pay for everything. And at the end of the course, you get put on a hiring list for 175 fire departments that hire off the CalJack list. So this was a truly a direct pipeline into not only our fire agency, but to a whole lot of other fire agencies. And we had our first graduation 2 weeks ago. And
how many?
We started with 36 and we graduated, I believe, 24, which is a great number.
Yeah.
And I've been getting texts from students that have already passed their national registry on the first try, first attempt. So the class was a hit. So for a class that we develop for 5.5 months of your life, you go through it, you graduate. It's a life changer. A lot of these people are going to go off to some great careers and change not only their life, but the lives of their family. And now they can have some legacy. And the class we purposely taught the class in the center of San Diego, the inner city of San Diego, where there's no other programs. So that caused the class to be extremely diverse. And that diversity, I talked at the graduation, but I would go and visit the class on a regular basis. And you'll be amazed the friendships and the bonds that were created in that class from demographics all over San Diego. It's truly amazing. And they're a tight-knit group. And I full-heartedly believe that if not all of them, the majority of them will go into the fire service, and some will branch off into other medical fields based on their EMT certification.
Yeah, you mentioned
what a great program.
Yeah, two things there. I think that we need to really highlight. One is we need to communicate better with our potential next generation, which I think the fire service is horrible at doing.
Yes.
Right. As that generation now that's just retiring. I mean, what do you see, Chief Picone, as some of the things that we need to do with recruitment? I know retention wise, you guys are doing a great job because you have this new wellness center. So maybe touch on first, what do you think we need to do with recruitment? And then obviously the retention, you guys are really doing a good job. Maybe highlight that.
What's interesting is that actually getting hired back in the day, which was almost 30 years ago now. I mean, each test exam, I think there were 5,000 applicants when I applied. And I think now, Chief Logan, you'd know the numbers better than I, but less than 1,000?
It's about 1,500.
Yeah, so I mean, it's significantly different. And I think what changed, without having a whole lot of time to think about that question, I think,
Yes.
we went from a lot of vocational stuff back then. People were in the trades, they were looking at things to do. They were coming either out of the military or the construction fields or different types of manual labor kind of jobs. So there was a lot of push towards, this kind of became the thing, whereas over the years, it seems like that focus on go to college, get a degree, graduate from university, go in the tech field. There's been and they got rid of all the vocational schools. Right? I used to teach at ROP, which is the regional occupational vocational type thing through the school district. And funny enough, Chief Logan, I actually taught the ROP class that used to be at Lincoln many years ago too. And so but they've disbanded that whole thing. So now the idea of vocational education kind of gone on the wayside. So I think the recruitment stuff that we're doing, getting out there and letting people that wouldn't otherwise know that they can be firefighters, that's an opportunity. But you speak of the wellness center in terms of retention, but man, what a resource for recruitment.
Mm-hmm.
San Diego actually cares about their employees. We may not get paid exactly the highest rate, but you have the athletic trainer, because we're industrial athletes. The athletic trainer, their job is to keep us on the field, and we want to have a healthy retirement. And so by having our full exams in this state-of-the-art, literally Division I level athletic training program. And we modeled it after San Diego State's. We got all grant funds from FEMA, and then our foundation had everything else, so no city dollars. And we were able to open up this center that has $1.5 million worth of equipment just for injury prevention. It's not a gym. It's actually bring our members here when they get injured, get them back on the road. And what does that do for the citizens? To our commander here in the group here, that's the citizen at hand. That keeps firefighters on the road. So now when we have the wildfires, we were able to meet the demand and staff those engines that are in reserve. So the whole idea is, hey, we're focused on you, so this is a good place to come work, not just because it's sunny outside, but we actually care, about the employees. So it works on both sides.
Yeah. And I like the shots for me living up in Wisconsin because there's no vitamin D right now. But you're right. Like, who would not want to go to sunny San Diego and work for and alongside with you guys? But I actually, this is a great question for Janelle, the customer, right? When you hear, Chief, they had to dig out, they had to basically reach out and get donors. They had to reach out, they had to get grants to fund health and wellness for their own members. How does that make you feel as a customer?
I mean, absolutely. I think there just needs to be more attention given to the fire department. And I mean, as a resident of this area, it's, we don't see a lot of that come through. It's sort of like, I work in this business, so I know to look out for things. But the average person might not even know that there's that need there to help support the department and these different initiatives. And so just looking for opportunities and finding ways to communicate. I mean, that's one of the biggest challenges, right? Is that there's so many different things you have to communicate to the public all the time, your life safety messages, and ready, set, go, whatever it might be. And then also on top of that, looking for funding and support. So there's a lot of messages to communicate there, but I'm a huge supporter, and I want to continue to be a supporter in every capacity possible, and hopefully we can reach some folks here and encourage them to help support the fire departments in their local area that might be looking for something similar, and to try and launch at their department.
Yeah.
But if you'd like to donate to the San Diego Fire Rescue Foundation, we'll put the number up on the screen.
See, I like, right? Hey, but Chief, that's a great part. Like, when we have an opportunity to market, we have to market ourselves now more than ever. I know, like, people say, why do you have to market the fire department? Because just like Chief Logan said, a lot of people don't understand that this tremendous opportunity that we have, this tremendous opportunity we have to give back to our communities, but then also the tremendous burden that we're having to go through because people don't understand what we have to do and what we have to go through.
The Fire Store, equipping protectors with passion. Every decision we make as a company is about you, our customer. We wouldn't be where we are today without you, and we don't take that lightly. We understand that having the right gear can mean the difference between life and death. Our goal is to get you the gear you need, when you need it, at prices you can afford. Visit us at thefirestore.com for everything but the truck, and shop our family of brands, including Streamlight, MSA, Lion, FLIR, and more. Now let's get back to the show.
And then, unfortunately, you get a situation like happened in California, and I'm going to switch gears to get a little serious on us, but I think it's worth talking about is, right, one of the first things that comes up is DEI. Not how everybody's battling and stepping up to fight these fires, and how many people, you have DEI coming up in the conversation, and it's kind of disheartening in a way, because I understand, a little bit differently because of the conversations I've had. But Chief Logan, you just evaluate, or if you could just kind of expand on that a little bit. How does that make you feel, and what do you want people to understand about that?
I agree with your assessment on DEI. It's unfortunate, but as a fire chief, it's very important for me to have my workforce reflect the communities that we serve. And at whatever cost I have to do that, that's what we have to do, because at the end of the day, customer service is extremely important, and that can't be accomplished. My personal opinion, it can't be accomplished by one gender, one group, one anything. It needs to truly reflect the communities that we serve to provide the best service.
Yeah, and there's a difference between right DEI and affirmative action, right? Like you're not talking you're saying, and what we've talked about already is, look, we have to get, it doesn't matter color, race, sex, whatever. We need to inform, provide resources for, train, like this wide spectrum. And I think we're actually doing a much better job of that. We also got to get and educate people that they get, the first thought can't be that, right? Like,
Right. I think one of the biggest misconceptions, people, when they think DEI, they think that the standards have changed. No standards have changed. We hire 36 people into our fire academies, and then whoever makes it out the other end makes it out the other end. There's no provisions based on race or gender or anything else. It's all based on performance. So when you see a firefighter on a fire engine, they've all passed the same standards, and those standards are very strenuous because the way I like to describe the fire academy a couple ways. So one of the main things that we do is teach you how not to die in an emergency situation, right?
Yeah.
That's very important. And then the other is we teach you how to help others. So between those two and all the physical fitness requirements and all the book work and everything you have to learn on the fly, there's no downtime. When you make it to that other end and you see somebody with a badge on, they've earned it. There is no provisions. So when people see the fire service and they use DEI, I think it's important to know that it's not affirmative action, and no provisions have been made for anyone of any race, creed, or gender.
Yeah, it's a great summary of it. And like when you talk about health and wellness too, health and wellness and the health issues, I mean, they hit everybody. It doesn't discriminate in the fire service, right? Like once you're in, right, we have a tendency to start eating our own, unfortunately. And I like to step back and go, well, it's because maybe they're tired, maybe they don't understand, right, how the job is affecting their emotions. And I want to go back to how much focus you guys have on health and wellness, right? And this is where Chief Picone could talk a little bit, right? DEI, communication, building that culture. If you can really focus on health and wellness, is that really why you guys said, hey, this is one of the best things we can do for our department? And Chief Picone, I'll let you elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's all encompassing, and it affects everybody. Absolutely. I mean, we're involved, and we get asked to be in many studies. So we're in a study that's specifically with women in the fire surface cancer because of the cancers that they're experiencing. So we have a cadre of the women on the job that are focused. They're going through some treatment and testing and regimen just to see what cancers or what things are affecting them. We've geared our physical exams towards the needs of both men and women on the job, and I mean everything is put together and intentionally made up of all types. And what I'm going to feel comfortable with, or this person, you may go, oh, I'll never talk to that person, but there's a lot of people who do. And the people, like you said, we eat our own. And I think you'll get this phrase, but as I've been promoting through the ranks, everything Chief Logan said was absolutely dead on. But as you promote, you say to your crew, it's my job to make sure you go home safe. Well, in this position, my thought process has changed considerably. And now I say it's my job to make sure you come back to work safe, because so much stuff happens at home and the home life. And when you look at the the diversity that we have on the job here. Each home is special and unique. And when I first got in the position, my boss at the time, basically in their expectations, it was very simple. If somebody calls, have an answer. That was it. And so I strive to make sure that no matter, who you are, male, female, Italian, Black, whatever, that we're going to have a resource for you. So I've been working with risk management, and the city's been fully integrated with this process. So workers' comp, risk management, benefits, human resources have allowed us to actually get here to be able to support the vision that Chief Logan's talking about. And it's like you said, it's we hire, it's on merit. You gotta pull your weight. You gotta do the job. It's on qualifications, and one side isn't set apart from the others if you're doing the work. I think I got promoted out of the nickel machine. I just kind of like won the lottery there, but I've done a lot of stuff that people didn't know about, and I think there were probably some people who were surprised I got promoted because they didn't know what I had. And so the same thing with like Chief Logan, that kind of happens, but it's on merit. But as it comes back to the health and safety, we need to provide services to any one of a different people set.
You did a lot of stuff, positive things that people don't know. Let's clarify, because I know how the fire service thinks, right? Or they're like, wait a minute, he's got skeletons? No, he's self-educated, right? He went back to school. Those are things that you did probably a little more quietly than others, and that education, that knowledge paid off. And I think that's a great kind of way to bring home. I always love to ask chiefs and people that are have been in the fire service for a long time. If you have the audience right now, what are two things? And I'll start with you, Chief Logan. What are two things you want every firefighter to know, and or advice that you would give them?
Ooh, that's a good question. To take your position seriously in every rank. And what I mean by that, if you're a firefighter, just strive to be the best firefighter you can be. If you want to idolize other firefighters and try to follow in their footsteps, that's fine. If you want to create your own pathway, that's fine also. Just be the best that you can be. And as you transition to the various ranks, outside of being a firefighter, you go to being an engineer or a driver, some people call it. Learn that apparatus. Be the best engineer that you can be. Every aspect of that job, you should know it, or attempt to know it. And then just keep that same passion as you progress through the fire department, and you will have a fruitful, positive career. It's when you get caught up in all the other stuff that does not mean anything, that doesn't mean much, is where you sort of start to get lost and lose your way in the fire service. But when you're dedicated to your craft and you understand why you're a firefighter, why you signed up, what you said in those initial interviews, no one forced you to be a firefighter. You came, you asked for the job, you sat there, you presented yourself well, you were picked, you were driven, you were dedicated to profession, and at somewhere along the way, sometimes people forget those original intentions of why they're there, and they get caught up and lost in other things. And I believe that severely impacts your career in a negative way. Mm-hmm. However, if you stay on the other track, sky's the limit. You create your own ticket, you write your own path.
I love it. Perfect. Chief Picone, you got a lot of years of experience as you end this illustrious side of your career. What do you got for us?
Yeah, thank you.
You got to beat that though. That's pretty good stuff.
I know, and I'm glad he went first, so I was able to write some stuff down and kind of get my mind together on this one. So mine, I think, are a little bit different. I absolutely agree with everything the Chief just said as well. I think what I've learned both in the rank and, as you said, we eat our own, is regarding the gossip and things that are out there. I mean, or if you hear something or you're talking to somebody, or gosh, even on disciplinary issues, I would hear a complaint from somebody. And so here's the basic thing. There's always another side to the story. Hey, find out all the facts. Don't just listen to one side. Um, you know, I see, the union side, I see the management side, I see the personnel side. I'll talk about an issue, and sure enough, man, you're dead set. This guy's guilty. This happened, no doubt. And then you find out, man, they just lost their grandmother, or something just happened at home, or man, you have no idea really what, stop for a minute and just ask. Don't just make assumptions. The other piece that I think now, as I'm coming towards the end, is, after you've worked your butt off and you've sacrificed literally everything, probably had a couple divorces along the way because of it, at the end of the day, it's just you and who you're left with your friends. So yes, strive for everything within the department, go for it, do your best. Be true to yourself, but at the end of the day, it's you're looking in the mirror with, and your spouse, significant other, your family, your friends, the people you've been close to. And so I think you got to also keep what's important. So
Very well said. And these aren't even hot seat questions. I think, because we have you guys here, we've talked about some of these pressing issues within the fire service, obviously the wildfires. We talked about recruitment. We talked about DEI. And I think too, that all those things kind of tie into just what you gave us. If you stay true to yourself, improve yourself, stop pointing the finger, I think the fire service will improve and you'll improve. And thinking about that, then the organization improves. And since you have one of your constituents here, Chief, give me a little elevator pitch to Janelle about what things she should be excited about with San Diego Fire Rescue.
Oh, there's a lot she should be excited about with San Diego Fire Rescue. So one of the things that I've been pushing hard since I've been the fire chief is to reintroduce the fire department to the communities that we serve. So if you look back of when I became the chief, we've done a whole host of events. We've done toy drives / biking with the chief. So that event was special to me because it was focused on the toy drive. But as people brought their toys, we also had a bike ride with the chief. And we had kids as young as 4 and had people up to 80 in our bike ride. And it's probably, 70 to 100 people. And it was truly amazing just watching like the little kids like wobbling down the bike path. As I was riding, I was just sort of taking it all in, just all the ages and demographics and just the people and just how happy they were. And it was amazing. What made it even extra special, the mayor and several city council members came out and rode with us. And just that engagement with the community was truly impactful. I had just person after person coming up to me just very excited that they were riding bikes next to city council members or riding bikes with the mayor. And just, this has never been done before. And this is amazing. And we're looking forward to next year. And we have some other things coming up, volunteer with the chief. I'm doing a whole With the Chief series. Sort of piggyback on Coffee with the Cop, but I wanted to do something more interactive. For
maybe a lift with the chief at the new wellness center. Let's get some of the local pro athletes in there, see if they can handle you. Hey. I don't want to give up too much, but there's a whole host of With the Chief series, but it all involves community. That is extremely important to me. And to end it, I truly believe if we're not interacting with the community and understanding what their needs and desires are, how do we serve them? If we're just sitting in the fire station and just go on a call when we get a call, sure, we become very good at emergency response. But how do we get to the prevention part? How do we figure out what people actually desire and need and want from their firefighters unless we're interacting with them in a non-business setting, like a bike ride? Yeah. There were some great conversations going on during that bike ride. And I went back to my car afterwards and I sat in the parking lot and just took a bunch of notes so I wouldn't forget. And I have those notes, and I'm going to
work on moving forward and accomplishing a lot of those things that people said they desire.
I love that. I like that it's, you're integrating the department in a really positive way into the community because, so often if we have to call 911, it's because we're having the worst day of our life. So, there's that kind of negative connection there, but that's a really nice way to make it a positive connection and equate some positivity with the fire department there.
Right. And then there's all the standard stuff, right? Keeping the community safe. That's what we pride ourselves on. That's our bread and butter. So that will continue to be at a high level. It's all the ancillary stuff that's going to bring us together and make us more strong.
I think it makes us a real person versus just, this figure on the engine. And, that, like, going back to the health and safety wellness side, just, you start to realize as a citizen, they're not bulletproof. They're a real person. They have feelings, they're doing the best they can. They make mistakes. They're forgiving. There's all those personal things that I think the engagement helps. And I've offered quite a few recommendations to Chief Logan with the Chiefs, but we won't discuss any of those. There.
We got to stay tuned. I think we got to do a follow-up program. I'm curious now to see how creative you could get, but I think that's a great thing. You just thinking outside the box. If you're a chief officer, if you're someone in the fire department, your own department, trying to find ways to integrate in with the community. I know that some have done like bouncy houses and things at the firehouse for a couple hours just to get kids in the communities there. I think these are the type of conversations we need to have, especially since, previously we just talked about how we got to start marketing ourselves. What a great way to do that by having these creative outlets to get into and integrate with the community and not in an emergency setting when they're in their worst state, right? Like, I think that's a really great kind of attitude and a great direction to go. And Janelle, I don't want to step on your toes there, but does that fill you with a little bit of pride being there in San Diego?
Absolutely. I always have pride in this fire department. I love it.
Well, she's an easy customer, I think, you guys, right? It's the hard ones that you gotta to market to. But you guys, both Chief Logan and Chief Picone, thank you so much for your time. Great insights on a lot of topics. You're not done yet because Chief Picone, you said be more personal, understand the both sides of the story, and so we like to do what we call hot seat questions. So with that, go ahead, Janelle.
All right. Well, first, I'm gonna just do a quick promo. A reminder to our listeners that the What Firefighters Want in 2025 survey is live right now. Please go to firerescue1.com and take the survey. This year's theme is focused on safety culture and aggressive fire tactics, the relationship between these topics. It's a buzzy topic. We hear a lot about that. So we want to hear your take. Please, I encourage you to not only take the survey yourself, but share it with your crews. So
I've taken the survey. It's very good. Janelle, great job again this year. But this survey has really helped not only guide some of the topics on the show, but it has reached out within the fire service. I know leadership has always been one that comes up, and now talking about the aggressive fire tactics. I love the topic. It takes 10 minutes, so please, not even. So please, to all of our listeners, just use the link, go for it, and you can really help mold the fire service with your answers.
Yes, thank you for that. We will be supplying lots of content based on what we learn in the survey. So, okay, now truly switching to the hot seat. All right, Chiefs, if you had to start your career over from day one, what would you do differently? We'll start with you, Chief Logan.
Since day one, what would I do differently? I would have gone to medic school. I feel like that's the only thing that I haven't accomplished that I would love to have accomplished. But when I had my opportunity to go to medic school, they were advertising for our engineer's exam. So I had a choice: take the engineer's exam or go to medic school. Well, as we all know, medical school is extremely challenging. And I was 100% sure I was going to pass that engineer's exam. So, so I took the easy route. I went the engineer route. Everything worked out, but as I look back on my career and as I enter into a lot of the hot topics that impact our society today, paramedicine is at the top of that. And being a paramedic, I think, would have been very valuable. So that's the thing I would have done different.
Yeah. Chief Picone.
Yeah, interesting. My career path's been fairly interesting in terms of, I mean, this wasn't on my radar at all growing up. I was a drummer in a band, touring and playing club circuit, long hair, mullet, and that's what I was going to do. And so I guess if I had to say something, it would be start thinking of your plan B early. But really, it wasn't until I had my daughter where I kind of said, okay, this isn't the life that I'm going to have for my kids. So started kind of trying to fumble around, figure. So I actually got hired onto San Diego when I was not till I was 32. And so I had worked in the ambulance company and some other things. So start earlier, start planning earlier if you can. But I guess with everything, as you keep pointing out on my age, is that you kind of reflect back, and it's what made me who I am. So I say start earlier, but on the same hand, it's things you just got to keep focused.
Yeah, you and Zam are kind of kindred spirits in that.
Yeah.
Like a little bit later in life start for the
36. Yeah. My first academy, or my full-time academy was 36, and but I agree with you too. Like you one side, I wish I would have started earlier, but the experiences I've had have really helped propel me later on in the career. So it's one of those balancing things. So
you get that perspective of different things. And I think because I started later, I appreciated it more. I knew what I had, and I didn't take anything for granted. So it's good and bad at the same time, I guess. I don't know. But it came out great, so I'm good.
Right. The pension, could have used a couple more years on that, but the gratitude that you have for the position, I think, is invaluable.
Yeah.
So, great points.
I think that Chief Picone I think he may have started to answer the third question, right? Because we always ask people, if you weren't a firefighter, what would you be doing? Would you be drumming?
Yeah. I think as soon as like March 7th, after my retirement, I'm gonna start growing the hair back and
Nice.
Get back in the. I went from playing clubs 7 days, 5-7 days a week to coming out of the fire department, and now I play for the church. So it's all so it's just a little different, but love it. Yeah.
You're not going to be. Are you going to try Rush? Are we going to have like Rush?
Rush, Zeppelin, Police. That's the whole genre. The 80s. That was all me. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Long hair, bandanas. Yeah.
Love it.
Love it.
Love it.
Chief Logan, what about you? What would you be doing if you weren't a firefighter?
Teaching. When I started the program at Lincoln High School, excuse me, part of the story of which I didn't tell is I actually taught there also for approximately 5 to 7 years. You haven't lived until you've taught high school.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that. And I currently teach at Miramar College. I taught at Southwestern College. I used to run the hazmat program from the county. So I've been on the hazmat team for a couple of decades. So I taught hazmat classes all around the country. I just love to teach. It's fun, and it's just super rewarding. So I'll probably be a teacher.
Perfect. You have the service side of it, right? That makes sense.
Yeah.
So this is where the show goes awry really quickly, because this is my favorite question. And this is the firefighter, and the firefighter in me can't help but ask this question to both of you. We'll start with Chief Picone on this one. What's the wildest fire station or wildest fire service moment that you've experienced in your career that you can share on the air? Well, or you don't think you can share? We'll determine that.
Okay. Yeah. Boy, there was some wild ones. Let's see. I could say I went to the Rodney King riots. I could say, Cedar Fire, all these other stuff. But I think the wildest moment was before I got on the fire service. I worked as a paramedic on the ambulance side, and my partner and I were driving down the streets in Linda Vista because we were a roaming unit, and I looked on our mobile data terminal back then that, before they had all the rural technology, and up on the screen said tank crushing vehicles, and asked us to respond. So like, what the heck? They're joking, right? And right about then we looked up and there's a tank coming right towards us down the road. Somebody had stolen one of the tanks. If you YouTube it, you can see it. And there was a tank. Literally, he was standing outside the turret just laughing, and he knew how to control that thing because it was very strategic. He'd roll over certain things, and um, he at the end of the day, about a half an hour, 45 minutes of doing that and crushing vehicles, he got hung up on a center divide going down the 805 freeway, or they wouldn't have been able to stop it. So I think they had airstrikes planned or something, because there was no way to stop this guy. So that's probably the most interesting thing I've been on.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a good story. Chief Logan, how do you beat that one?
Oh man. Well, because I'm a chief, there's certain things I can't talk about.
I know. This is why I love this question, right? This is where it comes in handy. I'm not a chief. I can ask these. This is great.
So I'll give you a couple wild moments from that I've experienced in fire stations. I was just there. It wasn't me, just for the record.
Okay.
You heard.
Yeah. Rumor, right. Stipulation.
So one funny story is this was obviously in the early days. We had a battalion chief that would smoke in his car, and he wasn't supposed to. So somebody, wasn't me, but somebody put a smoke detector that detects cigarette smoke, and they took the center console off and like stashed it in there and put everything back. So he wasn't supposed to be smoking, but he came back to the station and he was not happy. He's like, this car keeps beeping. And we're like, what possibly could be beeping? Were you near a fire where there was smoke? He's like, no. Was anybody smoking close to, like, they're getting all these smoking hits? And he's denying all of it. But the smoke detector only goes off when you're smoking. So it would just drive him crazy. And they left it in there until the batteries died, because they could never go back in the car and get it, because it was like on high alert. So it went for like months, and it just drove him crazy.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
He never admitted it?
It's the chief. Who's going to admit it?
Yeah. Right.
Who's going to be that person?
Yeah.
Another funny story. We had it's always a chief. I'm sorry, but it wasn't me. There was a chief that was retiring, and on his last day, because here you have to work your last shift. So what they did was they took an IV bag and they froze the tubing to the IV bag, and they put the bag in a drop ceiling, and then they set it so it would drip. So when the IV line thawed out, it was a slow drip on his face, and he kept coming out, and he was livid. It's like, there's a leak in the ceiling. So we would all go in there and look, and like, Chief, there's no water pipes here. There's nothing in the ceiling. So then he would go back to bed, and it would just all night. It was just dripping. It was driving him crazy. He never figured it out. So
he just did. Yes.
One of the captains told him it was a leaky. The roof was leaking, but it wasn't raining. And then he was like, that makes sense. We got to write that up and get this roof fixed. Well, it was summer. It was rain. And then last one. Here's the last one. Another chief officer bought a brand new truck, and he was so proud of his truck. And he parked it like right outside the doors where you're not supposed to park it. It's like, dude, like, we get you got a brand new truck. No one's going to steal it. So someone went out and put a single jack, just a single jack, under the differential of the truck. So the truck was like a half. This is extremely dangerous. No one should do this. The truck is probably like a half inch off the ground, the rear tires. So as he gets in his truck to leave, it won't move. The tires are spinning, but he doesn't realize. So he's pressing the gas, the tires are spinning, and it's not going anywhere. But he was just talking about how great this truck was the whole shift. So then that gave others opportunity to be like, this is why you shouldn't have bought a Ford. You just bought it yesterday.
Oh yeah, right. Yep. The Ford, Chevy, and Dodge.
Yeah, it was the whole thing, and he thought his trans. So he calls a tow truck.
Oh.
So he calls a tow truck, and while he's calling a tow truck, they took the jack out. So when the tow truck comes, the tow truck guy starts the car and just drives it up on the tow truck, and he loses his mind. How'd you do that? It was, you had to be there.
Oh my God!
Oh my gosh!
How did you keep a straight face, or did everybody just start dying?
Everybody. I was just there.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny, but no. Once the tow truck driver just drove it up on the tow truck, I mean, everybody just fell out laughing. It was a great time. And then he found out what happened, and he was cool with it. But yeah.
The stories are great. This is the part of the
there's no shortage.
Yeah, right. Isn't this kind of why you love the fire service in a way? Because we do this to each other, and that's why I love this question so much. And it leads to bringing it all back home to the whole meat and potatoes of what we really are talking about. The essence of, I think, and you guys would agree, what will help drive the fire service to be, to continually improve and to grow. It's about improving and being better. And so our last question is, and Chief Picone, we'll start with you. How are you getting better?
Yeah, I think it's just always looking for opportunities, whether it's to have conversations with people that I haven't had before, or, reading something or watching a podcast or hearing somebody with a completely different opinion, which I don't think we do often enough, and that's, trying to see perspective. And we may not agree, but just, kind of learning what different things are out there, and just keep moving. I mean, you got to keep the joints moving, and hear about, I want to use my retirement for as long as I possibly can to make up for those years of service that I lost early on that we talked about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just gonna definitely milk it, enjoy the family, and just keep moving forward.
Excellent. Chief Logan, bring it home. What do you got? How are you working to get better?
Oh, well, as a fire chief, I have a single purpose, and that's to move my fire department forward. So what I'm doing to get better, what I think is different from other chiefs, I've been around on the fire department for 25 years, and I've learned the things I like from others and the things I didn't like from others. And one of the things that I think has changed is the dynamics of the fire service. So one of the things I'm doing to get better is I've sort of embedded myself in the city system. So I have strong relationships with the mayor, strong relationships with city council members, strong relationships with other city leaders. And the reason I do that is to learn from them. A lot of them have been around a lot longer than I have. I've only been a chief since August of 2024. So I'm building those relationships. And what that's given me the ability to do, as I go out and to my fire stations and talk to my people and talk to different people in the community, it's given me the ability to have the resources to be the best fire chief that I can be, to be able to solve problems as they come to me, to be able to go to the source within the city to make things happen. And my only purpose as a fire chief, I don't have an agenda. I don't think we should be a type 3 fire department or heavy on the structure. I just want to be the best fire chief that I can be and provide my members with everything they need to progress forward in conjunction with serving the community to the highest level that we possibly can. So that's what I'm doing to make myself better and to make my department better and just to be the best fire chief that I can be as long as I'm here. And I absolutely love this position. This is probably, I always thought engineer was the best position on the fire service. And some people are probably going to think I'm insane, but now I firmly believe that being the fire chief is the best position in the fire department, because you can actually make a huge positive impact, and not only your departments, but within the community, within the city, within the county. It is absolutely amazing. And I strive every day to do the best that I can possibly do.
To just echo that, I think I when I made BC, and neither one of us that we talked about earlier thought we were going to be chiefs. A chief is the best kept secret. I mean, at my level, as it moves up, there's different things, and certainly having the ability to make the call every time is burdensome for Chief Logan, I'm sure, at many times. But then also being able to do your vision is great. And in this position, health and safety, they've given me the latitude to, to make decisions and to do what's right on the behalf of the members. And it couldn't have done that at a lower rank. And so, yeah, I think people do think we're crazy when we say that, Chief, but it is a great position, and definitely people should go for it.
Yeah, the firefighter in me is saying right now there's a bunch of AEs sitting in recliners going, no, they got it wrong, right? Like that's the mentality. Yeah, right.
We're there. Yeah.
Right, and now that you've continually grown, I truly appreciate you sharing that, because I'm sure when you look out and you see how you can impact your members on a health and wellness standpoint, and Chief Logan, how you're actually looking out and seeing how you can impact your customers, your community, and your citizens, right? That's the part that you will always take with you, whether you have 10 years to go or what was it, 3 weeks, 4 days, and 5 hours, right?
Yeah. We're down to 4 hours now. So yeah.
So finally, Janelle, as you hear this coming from your own chief and coming from Battalion Chief Picone, I mean, give me a summary of your thoughts on listening to this as a firsthand customer.
I'm just incredibly proud. Like I said before, I'm really impressed at all the different programs and initiatives that you're both working on. I really appreciate the diversity of the programs as well, focusing on recruitment, mental health, and wellness, and also just, being there to serve your fellow firefighters up in Los Angeles after these tragic fires. So thank you for everything that you're doing for the community. I am just very lucky to live in this community for a lot of different reasons, but one of them is certainly the fire department. So thank you for all that you're doing.
Thank you guys for joining us, by the way. I really, truly appreciate the insights. If you're listening to us just on, podcast platform, I highly encourage you to go to our YouTube channel, where you can just see Janelle beaming as both Chief Logan and Chief Picone were talking about the wonderful things that are going on in San Diego with their fire rescue department there. Also, please share the show, like it, share it, review it. If you think we're on something or onto something, please send us an email at bettereveryshift@firerescue1.com. In summary, just taking some of the great points of inspiration, motivation, and information that were just shared with us is, always look for ways to improve. Be present when you're talking with people, when you're talking with citizens, because that's a great way to understand an opportunity for growth and understand an opportunity to learn more. And always take your position seriously. Try to do something every single day. As we say on the show, try to learn something, do something, move something, and share something to make you and those around you better every shift. Thanks for listening, everybody.